So I've got a note that says we have a few more people to run through our initial presentations, and then we're going to talk about interpersonal presentation skills today on the verbal side. And then we'll take another day and talk about the written side. So today we're going to talk about compliments, giving compliments, receiving compliments, speaking one-on-one to people, voicemails. How many of you have ever left a voicemail in your life? Okay, good. We're going to talk about an effective way to do that. So we've got some nice tips that will help you be professional and be effective. So we'll work on that. But let's crank. Oh, before we do, the Houstonian. How many are familiar with the Houstonian? Kind of a cool hotel, resort, spa in the middle of the city, not too far from the Galleria off of Post Oak. And they're hiring for all of these positions for the summer. So if you're looking for a position, they're looking for all kinds. So they're out front of S104, and they'll be there after this class if you're interested. But I like the Houstonian. I like to promote it because I know the management over there, and look, no place. There is not a perfect place, but I do find that these guys, men and women over there, practice, I think, the positive leadership style that I try to advocate and promote. Steve Fronterhouse is the GM over there now. He's a great guy. He came up through the kitchen, as did the previous. He came up through food and beverage, as was the previous general manager over there, a guy named Jim Mills, who was a chef. But both have very good styles about them. So if you're looking for a place to work, I would encourage you to think about it. Okay, so are we ready to go? Who wants to go first? I think we got about 7. Come on, young man. Raise your hand if you haven't gone. Okay, we got to move them along pretty quick because I do want to get into this content today. Absolutely okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, listen. This one's going to be a little different because, and I apologize, your name is? Jonathan. Jonathan is actually been asked to deliver some opening remarks at the Career Fair Luncheon. And so when I found that out, I asked him to practice his opening remarks with you based upon the things we've talked about so he could give some feedback. And we're going to try to keep it at 2 minutes, right?
Around 2 minutes.
There, yeah. Whenever you're ready, Jonathan, kick it off.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Vu, and I'm a senior here at the Conrad and Hilton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself today. I arrived at the college in 2014 with no plans or ideas about my future career path. My options were to either immediately work after high school or enroll here at the Hilton College. I had originally had grand ideas about going to a famed culinary school in America or in Europe. When I realized that my family just wasn't going to be supportive, whether it was financially or career-wise, a friend of mine had told me about her experiences here in her first year at the college. So I was just kind of you know what, this is going to be my leap of faith. And so I took that leap and I enrolled for my first semester. Is essentially just because it was close to home and it was in the chosen field that I wanted to pursue. My first 2 years of college were just a blur of skipping classes and trying to scrape by for grades and things like that. But I just wasn't motivated because college originally wasn't my first plan, or college wasn't really my ideal plan for how I wanted to pursue my career. Entering my junior year at the college, I just felt lost. But luckily, I think one of my classes required me to volunteer for Hall of Honor that year, 2016. And I unknowingly applied for a key volunteer position which required more responsibility than I had imagined. But it was one of the most fulfilling volunteer experiences of my entire time here at the college. Those 2 days of volunteering were amazing. I got to meet so many people and work with so many amazing managers and professors. The management team actually noticed how much I was involved that time and kind of told me to pursue it and apply for the team. And on a whim, I did apply. I didn't actually originally expect to even get an interview due to the fact that they had a 3.0 GPA requirement for all applicants, and mine was kind of nowhere near it. But by a stroke of luck and the management team vouching for my performance, Alexis Jameson, who recently left the college, kind of took a chance on me and accepted me onto the team. Being a part of that 2016 Hall of Honor team essentially changed my life. It allowed me to experience so many opportunities and open so many doors to other opportunities in the college and outside of the college. I've had a chance to be part of multiple amazing gourmet nights and Hall of Honor events, and it just has been an amazing experience. I just discovered a passion for the college that I guess I never really knew I could have, especially coming in with like no desire to go to U of H or even know about Hilton College. Alexis, who I consider one of the most influential mentors I've ever had, also set me on my current career path into private club management. She told me it was time to take something seriously and discover a path for myself. The semester after I finished my Hall of Honor, my time with Hall of Honor, I applied for 3 country club internships. After I was selected by one for Chevy Chase, which was one of the top 10 country clubs in the nation this past year. I've had the pleasure of interning with Chevy Chase since 2017, going from just an intern all the way up to assistant manager. So this coming February 24th, I will be one of 4 attendees for Club Managers Association of America's World Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm also a food and beverage manager for this year's Gourmet Night, celebrating Hilton College's 50th anniversary. It's been quite an adventure for a kid that came to college with no plans or ideas.
Okay, Jonathan, just so you know, that was 3 minutes, 54 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
So I think your time range was 2 to 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got some areas where you can speed up a little bit, and I'd encourage you to focus on that. Posture, excellent. Hand movement, it's fine. Eye contact was good. If you're going to use that, I would encourage you to make the font much bigger and spacing maybe triple. And so more pages are fine, because you'll be at the podium and you can just flip the pages. Or do it on an iPad and you can just scroll. Right? Okay. What does he need to work on? I know you heard them, because I heard them. Martha?
The
Ums. You want to practice being okay with a little silence. You peppered it a little bit with And did we record this? You did? Okay. So you'll be able to see it and do it. But I think it'll help you a lot. But look, content-wise, nice message, right? There was one point we all laughed at your GPA, which is funny.
Yeah.
But there was another point which I thought was humorous, but maybe you guys just missed it, or it was the way you delivered it, and I'm not sure which, but I would encourage you to think about delivering it differently. It was that I was, unbeknownst to me, I was volunteered, or what did you say? It was
Unknowingly volunteered for.
unknowingly volunteered. Yeah, which is funny, right? But you might want to think about it, because that should elicit laughter. Go on if it doesn't, but I think it could be kind of a funny thing, but you've got to learn to pause a bit and let people laugh. Okay? But well done. Yeah. When do you do this? Career fair?
Yeah, perfect.
Next week?
Yeah.
So you got some time. It's well done. Everybody okay? Yeah. How many of you are going to the career fair luncheon? Well, good. You laugh when you're supposed to laugh. Once you laugh, everybody else will laugh. Very good, Jonathan. Thank you. Who's next? Come on. Oh, I thought I had 2 people.
Hello, I'm Manuel, and just like if your loved ones suffer from glossophobia, you may be entitled to cash settlement. Treatments, sorry about that. Symptoms include sweaty palms, sweaty armpits, shortness of breath, high pitch of voice, and treatments include maintaining eye contact, be confident in yourself, rehearsing your speech, and find your own your own presentation style. And don't let glossophobia ruin your life like it has mine. Thank you.
That took courage. Thank you. How do you feel?
Better.
Good. You had excellent posture, great eye contact, good articulation.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
Welcome.
Okay. I want to remind everybody, please put your mobile devices away, okay? Next. Come on.
All right, before I start, who else is terrified of doing presentations? I know we know everyone. All right. That's what I thought. So I kind of think it's ironic that we're out here trying to teach each other how to do
Presentation.
correct presentation. So I'm gonna start off by, that was my kind of my intro and kind of get your attention.
And it worked?
Yeah, I'm really nervous right now. All right, so some important features that I think presentation would need is a good tone, eye contact, and posture. Tone is very important because if you have a very, very boring, monotone tone, you're gonna put your audience to sleep. I also suggest to include an attention grabber, some jokes here and there, just so everyone's still paying attention to you as you go on. Two, posture is very important because standing up straight makes you seem more interested in what you're talking about and doesn't, again, let the audience fall asleep because they think you're bored of it yourself. A bad posture, again, can make it seem as if you're not interested in your own presentation, or pacing as well might take that away and take the attention away from the audience on your presentation because they'll be more focused on you walking around or moving around. And then thirdly, eye contact. Eye contact is very important because it shows that you can tell if people are paying attention to you and they're also more connected to your presentation. In conclusion, just make sure to remember these points the next time because as someone that's scared of presenting, this might help you guys. And again, I find this very ironic that we're out here presenting and teaching each other how to present.
It's very good. Well done. Yeah. Great content, good eye contact, good articulation. You had a little bit of nervous movement, right? Remember to breathe. Yeah, but I didn't hear any fillers. Did I miss that? Anybody? I don't think we did. The movement a little bit, but we understood. It was nervous. Okay, good. How many of you feel like after sitting through these and our conversations about them, that you have a pretty good feel for what an effective presenter should do? Okay. I'm trying to figure out a way to get us more presentations, but we just don't have enough time, right? But I got a plan. We're going to create a mini, what's that called? I mentioned it to you. There's a University of Houston chapter where people go and give talks. Toastmasters. We're going to do a mini Toastmasters in here. That's what we're going to do. You guys it's going to be good. I got it figured out. All right, next. Oh, wait, Mr. Marine, we're going to let the lady go first. You guys came up at the same time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jialu Chen. I'm going to present with the ideas for good presentations. And when we are asked a volunteer to do a presentation, sometimes we are not willing to do that, but at least we need to do well. So we need to know our audience before we make the preparation, and we must to clearly realize what who they are, what's their age period, and what's their education level. We must to make sure that the talks we delivered are can understand by everyone, and we cannot talk the middle school student to talks about how to operate those dogs. That is not ideal. And also get the attention for audience before they start. The main points is largely improve the quality of the presentation delivery. And we cannot just say attention when we are going to speak something important. That is not good. And the good ways could be ask a question, tell a story, read a sentence from a book, or tell a joke. We cannot 100% show that it's really work to attract the attention, but at least to make them to realize that we are funny and we are prepared to try our best to present them. Thank you.
Okay. How do you feel?
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your first language?
Chinese.
Chinese. Would you do me a favor? Would you now deliver that talk again in Chinese? Do you speak Mandarin? Do you speak Mandarin or Cantonese? Mandarin?
Yeah.
I just think, I think you think you can do it?
I don't think so.
No?
It
Okay.
translates a different delivery.
It does different, yeah, but of course, half the audience won't know. I just want to see if you might feel more comfortable. I want to see your comfort level doing it in your first language.
I can try, but it may deliver as a different.
Just try a little bit, if you don't mind.
Um,
See how you feel. It's okay. Take a second and just try. It's just absolutely for fun and to see if it makes a difference.
Can I just talk for a little?
You can.
当我们被要求或者被需要去做一个 pass，
You're doing great.
当我们被要求去做一个公众谈论的时候，我们需要知道我们的我们需要做好准备，然后to
You're doing fine. Come on, you don't have to do it if you don't want. It's okay. But you're already, the reason I asked you to do it is because you're already more animated, because you're comfortable, more comfortable, right? With all of us would be with our first language. I'm just trying to point out to everybody that how challenging it is. It's hard enough to get up here, right? But if English isn't your first language, it's twice as challenging, right? So, but I want people whose English is not the first language to realize that if you're not as animated in English, you may very well have some different skill sets if you're speaking in your own language, right? So don't lose sight of that, and just be mindful of that. And your speaking may be totally different when you're using your first language or another language that you're more comfortable in.
I would feel more nervous when I speak Mandarin.
Oh, okay. All right. That's okay. Thank you. Yeah. And thanks for giving that a try.
Alrighty, so who here has been asked to get up and speak in front of a class? If you didn't raise your hand, you're wrong. So this is an attention getter. It helps you engage the audience, and it must be related to the topic of the presentation. So, point number 2 that I'm going to make in this presentation is to use personal stories to connect with the audience. For example, I'm sure everybody has been nervous about getting up here. I have been as well, and the reason I've been nervous is because when I was in the Marine Corps, I developed a stutter after I got injured. I have worked on it since then, but with one of my Marine Corps buddies. His wife is a speech pathologist,
yep.
and she helped me work on that. So it's virtually gone now, but every now and then it does come back. But at the same time, while you tell stories, don't tell too many. Humans are hardwired to pay attention when you say, I'm going to tell a story, or when you do tell a story. and then be human and relatable. Don't be robotic about it. So the next point is don't read from the paper, as I'm doing right now. Memorize your presentation, and then put some bullet points on numbered note cards, or have an order of how you're going to go. Don't just jot things down. Keep it simple, but practice. Reduce the use of visual aids. In the Marine Corps, we call, and Dr. Barth calls it death by PowerPoint. That is true, because they pack all the information onto the screen, and then we're reading all this mindless information and not listening to whoever's presenting. So that being said, it could and most likely will distract from the speaker. Also, 9 times out of 10, whenever I looked around the room, I saw every single Marine sleeping. It's not good. So maintain eye contact. Look at everyone. Don't just look at the important people in the room. And then look at everybody for a few seconds. Don't just keep jittering around, otherwise I think you'll crush the monster, which I just did. Use your hands to emphasize things, but don't be all, wee. Doesn't work. It distracts from the presentation. And then avoid using words like or These are noises, as I like to call them, and they will distract from your presentation. Lastly, it is okay to be nervous, but use it to your advantage. You can hide your nervousness to make your presentation better. Thank you.
Very good. So, really good posture, really good articulation, good eye contact, very well done, great content. How did you feel?
Whenever I'm absolutely terrified of public speaking.
Okay. That's interesting. You were in combat, and you're terrified of.
Yeah.
Does anybody else see the irony in that, or is it just me? It just shows you how powerful it can be, right?
Funny how that
Yeah.
works out. But, I'm absolutely terrified of public speaking. A few times I've been told that I'm good at it.
I was going to say, you're pretty good at it, yeah.
See where, 'cause I noticed as I was giving it, I was saying I didn't think I was making good eye contact. I don't know if that.
What did everybody else think? Yeah, thought it was. I didn't hear enough to be distracting on the vocalized pause. Did anybody else? Yeah.
I only said it like 2 times.
Yeah.
Because maybe in the beginning of his speech and then he got more comfortable using it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was good. Yeah. Keep doing it. I think you got a nice presence, and you got a great story to tell.
Thank you.
No, you do. Yeah, that's really resilient. To get injured, develop that speech impediment, and come back from that, and now to stand up in front of people and speak, that's something to be very, very proud of. Yeah, good. And I forgot to ask you, how did you feel up there? You felt better after it was over, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I forgot something when I was on the stage.
Oh, you did? We all forget things when we're up there. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to go next? How many of you memorized what you were going to say? Raise your hand. You memorized what you were going to say. And how many of you relied upon notes but felt comfortable with it, more extemporaneous? Okay. That's a conversation you have to have with yourself, what you feel more comfortable with. My preference is not to memorize, but I'm comfortable with the material because I've been doing it a long time. If you're not comfortable with the material, it's harder not to do it. I think I told you TED Talks, they make you memorize it. So that's an interesting approach. But it's strictly up to you to get comfortable. I've kept you waiting, I'm sorry. Are you ready? Go right ahead anytime you're ready.
Hi, I'm Darren. I just want to start off with a quote by Mark Twain, and it says, "There's 2 kinds of speakers in this world. 1, the nervous, and 2, liars." So everyone gets nervous, but the more you practice, the more confident you get. And speaking of practice, I was coaching a bunch of 6- and 7-year-olds yesterday in softball, and we were told to get in a circle, and it was like an introduction, just like tell me a little bit about yourself, give me your name, stuff like that. And I remember, I don't know why I was thinking of public speaking while I was coaching, but they were standing there, and this girl goes and she's like, I'm Sage. And I was like, it's okay, like, just say your name and where you go to school. She goes, I forgot where to go to school. I was like, oh, it's okay. I'm in a speaking class now. I was probably going to do that when I get up there. Like, I forgot my speech. And then she started crying. I was like, oh no, that's going to be me tomorrow. And I was so nervous. And then I was like, all right, just look at me. Tell me your name. She was like, I'm Sage. And I was like, that's a beautiful name. Awesome. All right, next person. And this girl gets up and she's like, hey, I was like, you gonna say your name? And she was like, yeah, I'm Jasmine. And I was like, all right, where do you go to school? And she's like, the best school ever. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, where's your school? And she was like, oh, I go to St. John's. She's like, you want to hear about my day today? And I was like, I don't know if we have time. She's like, I don't care, I'm going to tell you anyway. And so basically the point of my story was like, there's people that are going to get up there and be super nervous, but you don't want to hide behind yourself, but you also don't want to be that person that's yelling at people, telling them your whole story. You want to be pretty relaxed, calm, and just present yourself. So.
Very good. Thank you. That was a pretty darn good imitation of that 6-year-old you did there. That was good. It's good. Nice. And it's a little hard to, but it felt like you were comfortable. A little bit? Not so much? No? Okay. Well, it kind of looked that way. And articulation was very good. You made good eye contact. You really didn't go to your notes at all. So it was well done. Yeah, good. Next. Are we done? No. Okay, Sammy, we'll make our way down.
I was trying to see how long I could go without getting called on.
Well, you did pretty good.
I know. Okay. Hi, I'm Sammy Tigey, and I'm going to give you my speech. So, I think we've heard a lot about the public speaking guide that Dr. Barth gave us on Blackboard, and I think that's awesome. I think it's a really good way to set up a presentation. Through my research for this presentation, I found a different structure, and I want to share it with you just to offer something different that you can hopefully use in the future. So I found it on a TED Talk by Nancy Duarte, and I like it because it comes with a visual. So raise your hand if you're kind of a visual person. Woo, everyone, pretty much. That's great. So hopefully this helps you. So she started out relating it to what a lot of us saw in high school English classes or literature classes. This is the structure of a story, like a plot, where it starts out slow, gets to a climax, and then comes back down. Does anyone recognize this? Yeah. All right. So what she does here is she drew out the version of her the visual representation similar to that of her speaking structure. So it looks like this, and I'm going to explain it to you. And I'm going to explain it to you in the context of what we already know. So we've been talking about an attention getter. And for Nancy Duarte, she calls this the what is. So for her, that means you just tell it how it is right now. It's usually not the most ideal. And next, for our preview statement, as we know it, she talks about what could be. So that's up here. So she's going to contrast how things kind of suck right now to how things could be a lot better. And then for her main and subpoints, she continues to alternate back and forth between those two things. So that helps strengthen her point that we need to make the change and get to what could be. And so at the end of her speeches, she does a closing statement, and that's her call to action. That's like, let's do it. This is going to be great. And her tie back is going to be the what could be bliss. So as you see, she starts on the what is so that she catches the audience's attention and they're all on the same page. And she takes them through this journey that brings them ultimately to what could be. And leaving them there kind of leaves them hanging, and it's a way for them to see, all right, let's make it happen. It's going to be awesome. So next time you're creating a presentation, consider using that structure. And if you'd like to look up the TED Talk for yourself, again, it's the TED Talk by Nancy Girardi.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That's great content. And you know, how many of you watch TEDs? You guys spend some time with TED? I hope you do. It's great stuff. There's another website called Upworthy. If you enjoy things like that, inspirational type memes and videos, and but TED's great, and so I encourage you to spend some time with that. All kinds of topics, obviously. And many of you, how many of you have ever seen Brene Brown, her TED? She's actually a University of Houston professor, and she's probably the most watched TED Talk. I think 1 or 2 of her programs are. Prolific author. If you get a chance to take her class, I'd strongly encourage you to do that. I think she's in the social counseling side, or does that sound right? Does anybody know? Maybe College of Social Work, but I don't know specifically there. But anyway, if you get a chance, I mean, that's a remarkable opportunity. So if it's not too late in your schedule and you can tie that in with an elective or one of your sciences, I would encourage you to do it. She's fabulous. Sammy, very good. How'd you feel? Okay, good. Content was outstanding. Thanks for sharing that. Very good. I learned a lot. Honestly, I did. I love the what is, and where are we now? What can we, how could it be? I think that's terrific concept to do in a talk. Thank you for sharing that. Your articulation was great. Eye contact, very good. A little nervous movement. You were a little back and forth. Did you feel that? Did you sense it? No. Okay. Doing some things, yeah. So what will help that? Breathing. Remember what I share with you guys. Write the word breathe down. So like if you're going to take note cards up there, every third card, breathe. Nothing else. Just breathe. Yeah? And then go to the next card. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. I also wanted to share one other thought that came to my mind when Darren was up, if I may. Darren, when you got up, and your Mark Twain quote I thought was great, and I may use that if you don't mind. The only thing I would suggest is get right to the quote. Mark Twain says, boom, rather than I want to share a quote. And we've heard that a lot, so I'm using your time to make the point if you don't mind, but please don't take that personally. Okay. But do you see the difference?
Yes.
Remember what I talk about. Just get right to it. And I think you'll find that can really enhance the energy level and the audience engagement. Next. Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to wait this long, I swear. I didn't know it was going to be this. Whoops, my bad. So my name's Brianna. I absolutely hate presentations. I get so nervous. During the whole entire class, I'm like anxious and everything, and I overthink every single part of it. I'm one of those people that, like, if a professor is calling the attendance, I'm like overthinking the way I'm going to say here. And then afterwards, I'm like, my heart's racing, and I'm like, did I say that too weird? And I overthink every single part of speaking, even in a normal conversation. I'm like, did I keep eye contact too long? Am I being awkward? Did I look at someone, like, you just keep looking at the same person awkwardly too much. And so yeah, I'm really bad at that. So hopefully this helps me and y'all to get over that. So for the basic presentation, I want to start with my introduction. Start with the introduction, kind of do something a little bit relatable so it would catch people's attention, and then moving on into the main points. It includes subpoints and transitioning statements to the next topic. You can include as many points as you need, as long as you don't go overboard, so then people will lose focus if you do. And then in the conclusion, you review everything you've talked about, and then in this case, I talked about being nervous and giving a presentation. And now I'm gonna go sit down and thank God it's over.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. What did we think? Yeah. Good message. Good smile. You smile a lot. Really? Yeah. Did you not notice? No. Didn't she? Everybody thought it was, yeah. So it was great. It's good. You have a nice voice. Nice and calming. It's good. A little nervous movement, but that's okay. But a great message. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Okay.
All right, hi, my name is Jonathan, and I have 3 easy steps for a great presentation. Step 1, define your message. Step 2, define your audience. And step 3, adapt. Step 1, define your message. What is your overall point? Because having 2 strong messages will weaken them both. Step 2, define your audience. Age, demographic, social class, religion, and other factors can all have effects on how your audience receives information. Step 3, tailor your message to your audience. As with a child, you have to put it into terms that your audience will understand. During your presentation, I also have 3 quick tips. Dress appropriately, because even if you're ugly, dressing nicely will make I didn't need to look at you, Dr. Barth.
I didn't need to look at you.
Do not make jokes if you're not funny. It'll come off as cringy, and then you'll want to kill yourself. And lastly, be calm, because honestly, it's very likely that no one gives a shit about what you're saying.
Jonathan, you did it. You feel better? Good. Okay. Yeah, you look pretty comfortable up there, actually. You were going a little quick, but that, I mean, yeah, but wasn't too fast, because everybody could understand, yeah? But if they were taking notes or something, or it was your first time to meet an audience, it might have been a little fast. But just breathe a little bit and you'll be okay. Posture was a little, you stood still, but you were a little, I'm going to call it a little informal. Just a little. But in here, it's not a big deal. But yeah, good eye contact? Yeah, it was good. Yeah. The computer, was it distracting? No, it's like a confidence monitor. Good use of that. All right, very good. Do we have anyone else? Okay. Come on. Is that the last one? Oh, we've got one more. Okay, do you 2 want to go together? No, I'm just kidding. You don't. Do you want to do it? What's your first language?
Korean.
Do you want to do it in Korean or English? It's up to you.
I'll do it in English.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Dana, and today I'll be giving a presentation on how to give a good presentation. Did you know that 30 million presentations are given every day? That's the equivalent of 20,000 presentations started every minute. However, most of those presentations tend to be bland and confusing. So how can presentations be given so they are clear and interesting? When giving a presentation, the presenter should make sure to connect with the audience. This can be done by grabbing the audience's attention in the introduction and holding on to it by constantly making eye contact, speaking in a loud, clear voice, and maintaining a smile. After narrowing on the topic in the introduction, the presenter should move on to the main points. The main points should be supported by subpoints, which should be supported by evidence. It is important that the speaker fully acknowledges the main point in order to convince the audience. After the main points have been addressed, the presentation should conclude with a review of these main points and tie them back to the introduction. This will remind the audience what the main topic was and help them connect the point to the topic. When the audience has things to take away from the presentation, it can be considered a successful one. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. How do you feel? Better? Yeah, okay. Content? Really straightforward. Articulate? Good eye contact? Excellent posture. It's a good job. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We have a plan. No. Okay.
Hi, my name is Quinn. So first off, to start off, there's 4 types of presentations. There are informative, demonstrative, persuasive, and inspiration. So first, figure out what type of your presentation will be and shape it to your own way. Use of personal delivery styles. There is vocal and clean volume, rate, and pitch. And then visual, such as facial expression, eye contact, and posture. By using these delivery styles, it will improve the overall presentation and help the audience to better understand the objective, the presentation. Secondly, use of grammar, word choices, commas, and more are great tools because they can change the whole meaning of the presentation. If used incorrectly, the audience would be confused and not receive the intended message. Overall, there are many helpful tools to use for a presentation. First, figure out what kind of presentation you are giving and its purpose and goals. So it's not just about the presentation, it's how you deliver it.
Very good. How do you feel? Nah, but it's over, right? You did it. All of you did it. How does everyone feel? Yeah? If I asked you to do it again right now, how would you feel about that? Would you be okay? All right. I want everybody to take just a moment, and I want you to reflect on your presentation and what you learned from it and how you might do it differently in the future if I asked you to do it again. All right. I'm going to share with you that I thought the presentations were terrific. I thought everybody was well prepared. Clearly, we have some nerves, but we all have experienced that as we've learned, and we just have to continue to practice and to use some of the tools we talked about in order to reduce the impact that the nerves have on us. And remember what we talked about. Your body, if it's anxious, is telling you that it's ready. So try to own that and lean into it. I think it'll help you. All right. So we're going to shift gears now. How many of you get just as nervous talking one-on-one, like with an interview, as you do standing in front of people? Okay. That's pretty natural as well, right? So we're going to practice that also. Are you ready? Okay, I need you to find I want you to team up with somebody that you've never met. Ready, set, go. Find somebody that you don't know, that you haven't met. You might have to get up. I know that's hard to do.
It's hard not knowing anyone.
Okay, well, maybe that you don't know anything about them. You guys good? Okay. DeAndre, you can't leave, dude. Hurry up. We're doing a quick exercise, a 1-minute exercise. Come on, man. Come on, man. Now, where's she going? Sheesh. Lily, you have a partner? He's gone. Come down here, Lily. Sammy, you need a partner? Spencer, Sammy's partner. Okay, everybody. Wait. I didn't ask you to go on a date. I just asked you to match up with people. All right, stand up. Stand up. Face your team, your partner. Face your partner. Now, here's what we're going to do. Everybody's going to get this opportunity, but we're going to practice a couple of different things with this exercise. Okay? Interpersonal communications are much different than speaking to an audience. Okay? How important is eye contact? It's very important. How important is the ability to stand still? Short, little conversations, you can't distract from that. You use your hands, but try not to be all over the map with your feet, right? Who needs a partner? DeAndre, you're my partner. She's not your partner, dude. You lost. You leave, you lose. You snooze, you lose. Come down here. Now, we're talking about eye contact. We're talking about using hand movements, but we're also talking about being still in interpersonal communications. Everybody got that? Okay, now, what I want you to do is we're going to start with 1 minute, and one of you, and this is not conversational, this is practice being still and making eye contact while you are speaking, which is challenging. But the other person that's listening, I want you to listen to them, right, with eye contact as well. How important is eye contact when you're listening? Even more important than when you're speaking, because it demonstrates engagement, sincerity, listening. Everybody good with that? So we're going to practice eye contact, trying to stand still. This is good practice for you. And you're going to talk about yourself, which is also hard for people to do, right? So one of you decide to go first. Do that now. You'll go first. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to tell us when. And then you're going to stand and you're going to face them. And we're just going to practice. And it's going to be for 1 minute. Now, the second minute is going to be the listener's turn. Actually, we're going to take 30 seconds for the listener to recap what the speaker told them about them with the same techniques, eye contact, hand movement. Are you ready? Set, go.
So, something about myself. I am a server currently working at Churrasco's Brazilian Steakhouse, and it's one of my favorite restaurants I've been working at in my 4 years past experience. What I like about it is it's fine dining. I'm learning more about wine, I'm learning more about beer, and I'm learning how to cook these specific recipes. So my goal is, after I finish graduating and learning many things inside the restaurant, I'm going to learn how to cook these specific foods for my family. It's like a wife at home, you know women love food, so I want to be that type of person, to be that type of provider and that type of care for that person. So, following that, I want to hopefully have my own little bar or hopefully build my own restaurant, depending on whichever life takes me, because I'm not one of those type of persons who go straight forward to life. Wherever the door is open, that's where I take it. I always learn to have a backup plan from plan A to plan B, or literally from plan A to plan C. Whenever life just has so many obstacles and so many limited ways that you can go through, so that's just something about me.
Stop. Is 1 minute a long time to talk about yourself? Yeah. All right. So before you forget it, you know too much. All right, so before you forget everything, we got 30 seconds now to tell back to them with good eye contact what we learned about them. Are you ready? Go. So DeAndre works at Churrasco's as a server, and you like that because it's fine dining, and you like to be open to learning new things, but ultimately, once you leave Churrasco's and or your other workplaces that you're thinking about, you want to open a small little bar, right, and have your own business operation to do that, because that's you. You want to be hands-on, going from A to Z. Did I get that?
Plans, plan A to work out, plan A to
Plan A, yeah. You're good.
Plan A to plan Z.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. Good. How'd it go? Did you do all right? How did you do with your staying still? How did you do with your eye contact? Yeah. What do you do with your arms when you're speaking one-on-one? What do you do with them? What's everybody doing? How about, you doing okay? Yeah? This? How about this? What are we not going to do? We're not going to do this. Try not to do this. But look, if you find yourself doing this, it's okay. Just realize what's the message you are sending. That I'm really not listening. I'm not open to what you have to say. So it's better if you can look. And this is okay if you're talking one-on-one with people. This is okay if you're talking one-on-one with people. Right? It's awkward, really, to kind of sit there and go, "Hi, how are you?" "I'm doing great." So figure out something, especially when you're listening, right? This is okay. This is okay, right? This is even okay. It's okay. Try not to get it up here and this. And try not to do this, as we saw when Darren showed us with her talk, how the little girl did that, right? How's that? Does that help? Okay, so we're going to do more of this as we go, but I want everybody to take a seat for a moment because I've got some thoughts around interpersonal verbal communications that I want everybody to get. Lily, you can go back to your seat. So, unfortunately for you guys, I've been thinking about this class a lot. And so I love this stuff. I love the communication side. I think it's great. And I think actually it's becoming a lost art. Because how do most of you communicate regularly? Text, email. How many of you actually do not like to get on the phone with somebody? Okay, right? We need to move past that a little bit, because in business, do you make phone calls? Not as many any longer as we used to. So you guys are going to be fortunate. But let's talk about interpersonal conversations. Just so like if you go into a networking event, are you prepared to meet somebody cold and talk to them?
Yes. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, what would you talk about? How do you ask questions? Are there things you don't speak about? Let me give you some ideas from an author that I found to be really helpful. She gives 3 tiers of conversations. Tier 1 is what she says is safe territory. Sports, the weather, pop culture, local celebrities, and any immediate shared experience. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
You could talk about the Grammys. Yeah, if it was today, you could talk about the Grammys. What else could you talk about?
The weather.
You could talk about the weather. If you're talking about the weather, that's when everybody knows we really don't have anything to talk about. But we do. But that's okay. People talk about it, right? Yeah. What else? Hold on. I'm going to get to politics. Monica.
The event itself.
The event itself. Yeah. Is this your first time here? Right? Try not to say, do you come here often? Is your first time here? Have you been to one of these events before? Yes.
I was going to say that I'm minoring in marketing, so I'm at Bauer right now, and the mandatory class I take is the Bauer's communication class.
Oh.
What you're talking about was just all on our test.
It was just on your test. We should have talked about it before your test.
This is much fun.
Oh, okay. Well, we're happy to hear that. All right, so that's Tier 1. Tier 2, potentially controversial items. Religion. Politics today can be very controversial unless you're similar thoughts, right? Dating and love lives. Those are controversial topics. She says to test the waters and back away if they're not interested, right? So, look, we all might say something and you can kind of tell with somebody that might be a little awkward for them. Hey, you just go, oh, okay, well, how about this? You know, or you got to be able to shift and realize it's never going to be perfect. Who was up here earlier? Brianna? Brianna, and you were talking about how your mind is constantly moving and analyzing and thinking, right? First of all, the human mind does what for us? Well, but how many of you wish you could turn it off every now and then? Yeah, I've suffered through a whole lot of horrible things in my life, most of which have never happened. Right? Where does the mind take us? It takes us to these horrible places that rarely, if ever, happen. But even if they do, we can handle it. Right? And so we get paralysis by analysis. So try not to, one of the other things you want to do in interpersonal communications is to listen without judging. How did you do recapping your speaker? How did you? Did you pretty well? You had to listen closely, didn't you? And you couldn't be distracted. It's hard to regurgitate a minute or in 30 seconds. It's hard. Okay, and then number 3, she says, these are topics that are intimate that you really want to shy away from unless you know the people really well. Family, finance, health, and work life. So instead of saying like, so what do you do, right, which is kind of typical, but it's really ambiguous, right? Really, what do I do when? You know, with my life, something like that. She suggests, what keeps you busy? Which I think is a nice way to open a conversation. Nicholas?
How would health be very controversial?
How would health be controversial?
Like sexual,
Have you got a sexually transmitted disease? I don't think that's what she's talking about.
It's awkward because they talk about herpes, but somebody actually does have herpes.
Yeah, okay, if you're talking about, okay, she says if you bring up herpes and somebody actually has it, that might be pretty awkward.
Because I've had situations.
DeAndre? Oh, I thought you had some. Amanda?
Health is so broad. Like you could talk about like diet and like if you're hydrated.
You could do a lot of that. But don't we talk about health all the time? We say, how are you feeling today? We do that. But I think what she's saying is how did that surgery go? Or any surgeries lately? All right, you still got diabetes? Yeah. I think, we can draw a line. Nicholas, I think it's a fair question, but I think we want to be somewhat sensitive about these things. She's not saying don't talk about them. She's just saying that realize you're at a different level of conversation there, and it might not be a conversation you want to have at a networking event. DeAndre, and then I'll get to Maddie.
I don't think health as in your body is the main priority everybody should be talking about. We also got mental health too. So.
We do have mental health. Yeah, so are you crazy? No. Maddie.
Well, I feel like it's also more on the side of once you get into health, there's no coming back. Like you bring up cancer and then the conversation's dead. Not like that. But I mean, it's like see now the conversation's kind of lulled.
Yeah.
Because it's
Maddie, I'm glad to hear. See, I'm not the only person that does that. That's good. That was an unintended pun. That was fun and funny and kind of, yeah, all right, go ahead.
It's more of a controversial health that you, like, if it's self-improvement, that's a different form of health.
I think that's fair. Amanda's point is all self-improvement.
Right.
Nicholas's point is self-improvement. I think the author's point is when you get into,
Like,
yes, yeah, like what we talked about, then that can be a problem. Yes.
I was going to say there's also like a lot of kind of disabilities that are invisible. Like if someone, like obviously health can refer to like if someone's in a wheelchair, that's pretty obvious. But if someone's dealing with like an autoimmune disease, you can't know that. And it's just kind
kind of better to avoid
Yeah.
any sort of that kind of conversation, because the worst thing is to like make some sort of like insensitive joke about something, and someone's like, oh, well, actually, I have that, and then it's just kind of.
Yeah, that's right. I agree, and it's similar to what we talked about earlier. And I think, John, you give me just 1 second, Nicholas, I'll get back to you. But look, clearly there are some things off limits, right? You don't ever ask someone if they are pregnant, right? Or how many of you have done that and wish you hadn't? Does that ever happen, gentlemen? Yeah. You were lucky. There's one time I said to a woman, I said, when are you due? And she said, I had the baby 3 months ago. That was a bad moment in time. So I'm just learning from my mistakes, right? This author's trying to help you out. So learn from it. DeAndre? Oh, did we cover you? Nicholas?
Okay, so where would dark humor lie?
Dark humor should not lie anywhere in a business networking event. Let's have this conversation. You guys need to realize that when you go to a business networking event, you are not with your peeps. You do not say things. Hold on, I made a little list. We've talked about this a little. Quit that. Hey, dude, come on. You have to realize that you are in a different environment, and you have to think. You don't say things like "my bad" or "I'm dead" or "just saying" or "what up, Holmes," or you don't say "K" instead of "okay." You want to get rid of these quirky little things that you might do with your friends. You can't use those, whether it's on the phone, email. Now, if you get to know somebody in the business world, that's different. But your initial impression, it's like your ringtone. It can't be an explicit version of bling. You got to come up with, you shouldn't have a ringtone at all when you get into business worlds, unless it's something that has to do with your business. Do you get that? Does everybody understand that? I'm sorry if I'm harshing your mellow. But you've got to realize that you have to make an impression with a broad group of people, and you don't want to alienate any of them. You get that? All right. Somebody else had a thought that I missed? Oh, hey, did we talk about double checking in here?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, glad we talked. And perfect. Quit saying that. Not everything's perfect. If something's perfect, you can say it's perfect. But we say it because why? How many of you are tired of everybody saying perfect to everything you say? Raise your hand. That's because you all say it. How many of you say perfect? Okay, I want you to stop yourself and ask yourself, how often do I say perfect? How often? Say a lot. Because you do it a lot. Because it's become a habit. And you're really not thinking about what you're saying to somebody. Do you see that? All right. Think differently. Be mindful of what you're saying to people. All right. The other tip this author gives you, be more interested to be more interesting. Be more interested to be more interesting. So the greater you listen, the more interesting you will be to another person. I had a friend of mine growing up, we just got out of law school, and he had a hard time meeting women. And he said, I can't figure this out. When I meet these women, they're not interested in me. I said, well, tell me how the conversation. He goes, well, I start talking about this, and then I talk about this, and I talk about going to law school, and I talk about where I work. I go, what do they talk about? He goes, I don't know. I said, sit. I said, if you want to meet people, you need to learn to ask questions. That's how you meet people. That's how you engage in conversations. That's how you become more interested than interesting. Learn to ask questions in a sincere way. Now, don't be like my daughter and be an interviewer on CNN. She'll nail you down. But be interested in people's lives and what they're doing. And one answer to a question can lead to another, right? And then you'll find that good relationships you want to keep, the other person will ask you questions about your life. How many of you have friends that you're the only one that asks questions? All right, well, what's that tell you about those friends? No, we don't. They're egocentric. And what we're trying to share with you from an interpersonal communications perspective, just like we did with emotional intelligence, those of you that have had these conversations with me in other classes, you need to listen from an authentic perspective, an objective perspective, rather than an egocentric perspective, right? How what somebody's telling you impacts them. Now how what they're telling you impacts you, right? And the way you get out of that egocentric mode is you learn to ask questions and be interested. So I want you to practice asking questions in your personal conversations when you get out of class. It will really change your ability to relate to people and to make friends. Tell me your name is not Jonathan.
No,
okay.
It's Natalie.
Natalie, thank you, Natalie.
I think a good thing for asking questions in a conversation is to ask questions about something they've already spoken about, that they've let you know about.
Very good idea.
Give a broader, like she told me that she was from Hawaii, and I've asked if she's ever visited again.
Yeah.
You know, it's just easy to go off of something someone's already given you.
Very good suggestion. Thank you for sharing that. Yep. Let me get just a few more points here. You know, other things you can have. You know, and listen, when you're going to a networking event, have a few questions written down in your pocket or on your phone. Things like, have you read anything interesting lately? Have you seen any good speakers lately? Have you seen a TED Talk recently that I might be interested or that really made an impact on you? There's lots of things you can ask, right? Yes?
I have a question because I always have this issue when I do any sort of networking event. How do you remember people's names?
That's hard, but here's a trick. And I apologize, Alan, I think I skipped you. You had your hand up a minute ago. Okay, we'll get back to you. How do you remember people's names? How many of you have challenged remembering people's names? Okay, what are the tricks? First trick is to repeat the name back. Exactly right. That's the most effective way, especially when it's short time one-on-one and you want, so like if somebody else comes up, you can do what? Alice, I want you to meet so-and-so. All right, I just met Alice. So-and-so, this is Alice, right? So you've used the name a couple of times, but you're not Alice. No. Yeah, right. Okay, you're Alice. Okay, somebody else had a tip. Yes, Chelsea.
Finding something that's on them, so if they have short hair and her name's Maggie, then if Maggie has short hair.
That's right. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to associate the name with something. That's the best way. Using the name is great. If you can go deeper and associate their name with something, that's helpful. That's why I have you put something on your name tag that I can relate to, right? Like I didn't remember your name, but I remembered you were the Marine. So I associated that, yeah? So, and that's the thing. I went to a talk one time where that was the talk about how to remember people's names. And we literally had 300 people in the room, and this guy went to that was the talk. He went to everybody and said, tell me one thing about yourself. And I'll be damned if he didn't remember everybody's name in the whole joint. And it's just that one time they said it. And he went through everything and he came back. And it was crazy to watch him do it. because he would look at somebody and he also saw them in relation to where they were sitting and other people, and he would say, oh, let's see, you are so-and-so and you did such and your name is Jonathan. Yeah. And then he'd go to the next one. Yeah, right. You should be a comedian, dude. That's funny. Maddie.
I was gonna say, having a little notebook really helped. Like whenever I was doing my internship, I would write down what I had to get done, and I would also put the person's name
Next to it.
And a day later, I ended up running into him, and I'm like, I know your face. So I turned really quick, I flipped through it, and then I called him by his name, and he was like, you just made my week.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I know notebooks aren't as popular now, but I find that just having a notebook and then writing down like points that they made, or just cool information that you may not have known is also really helpful. And then it's an easier way to do it by association without fully memorizing.
Yeah, very helpful. Okay.
Oh, mine was from earlier. It was, someone once told me that I kind of like, not like live by, but I try to like keep in the back of my head. It's just to learn how to read the room and know when to stop talking if you're going too far, and know when to just like give up on what you're saying. So learning to read the room.
Good. I think that's helpful advice. How many of you have gotten into an elevator and not pulled your cell phone out? Have you tried that? Have you tried it because I asked you to do it? I don't want it to happen by chance. I want you to be intentional about it. I want you to go into an elevator with other people. And I want you to be in that elevator. And I want you to be mindful of who you are and how you feel and what happens in that elevator. And try not to just go up one floor. Go up about 40. And have different people come on the elevator. And then they'll call the police because you're riding their elevator. But I want you to practice that. How many of you have gone to those of you that hadn't already, how many of you have gone to a restaurant by yourself? And how did that go? Good. It'll help you develop your confidence. How many have gone to a movie by yourself? And I'm not talking about Netflix at home. You've gone to a movie by yourself. How many of you have tried to go to a movie by yourself because I asked you to? I want everybody in this room go to a movie by yourself. And then I'm going to make you stand up and give us the synopsis of the movie. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that. Are you guys, I know we got to get out of here. Are you guys practicing your more emotional presentation I want you to give about a poem or a reading? Are you doing that?
Yes.
So when I'm ready to call on you, you're going to do that. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I want it to be, let me think if I can come up with a different way. So in other words, if you were going to do the Gettysburg Address, 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty, dedicated to the privacy right that all men are created equal. Or it could be 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation. See the difference? I'm sorry, yes. That's what I want. I understand. Guys, listen, we're going to continue this conversation. We're also going to start talking about written interpersonal communications, but we've got plenty of time to do this. But I want you to be, before you come into class on Thursday, I want you to be thinking about interpersonal relationship skills, listening, talking. I want you to think about complimenting people. We're going to practice that. How many of you have a hard time accepting a compliment? Okay. I want you to ask yourself why before you come into class on Thursday, and we're going to unwrap that package. Practice remembering people's names. Good stuff. Great presentations. I'm proud of all of you. See you later. Great job. They're out front. You can pick up your own. They're right around. Don't forget the Houstonian is out front with a booth right in front of S104. Hey.